So I am talking to Ann Arbor's city's police chief, Michael Cox, and I want to thank you for agreeing to talk to me.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm always happy to talk to a citizen of Ann Arbor.
So I started sort of with Stephen Postema in terms of our city's essential workers, and obviously our legal department is very different from our police department. But I am asking everybody the same question, which you can answer sort of however you like, which is um, how has your life changed? What kind of adjustments have you had to make um, during this pandemic?
Wow, so that's a good question. I have my personal life and I have a work life, and I'll try to answer a little bit of both. And I'll start off with um, personal life. It's easier, I think, maybe. And just making sure that I'm cognizant of my environment, my surroundings. I was always a hand-to-mouth kind of person, whether it's pins going in my mouth or anything else. So now I'm just very cognizant of what I touch. Washing, cleaning, things of that nature. Of course, now the wearing of masks, the walking of dogs, the social distancing. Those things didn't come natural, certainly to me, and probably to most people. So I, like everyone else, had to adjust quite a bit to my own personal habits, and just being aware of what I'm doing daily makes it a lot easier to be more uh, hygienically sound, if that's a word. So that's on the personal front. On the work front, things have been a little different in the sense that I spend a lot more time doing research, seeing what other cities are doing, what other police departments have experienced, what other countries certainly in police departments have experienced regarding this worldwide pandemic. So I do spend fair amount of time researching that, like daily, just from yesterday's happenings to this afternoon's deals. So I spend a lot more time doing that, and then checking with what we're currently doing, and then making sure that people are feeling good about work, feeling good about themselves, feeling good about being prepared to deal with whatever we have to deal with on a daily basis. Anytime you go through something as traumatic as this event is for everyone, you have to be aware that as humans, we go back to that fight and flight mentality. And so I just want to make sure that people are in the right frame of mind and understand that this is still America and what our values are, and to remind people of what they are, even during times of very serious consequences that this pandemic brings forward. And so I just want people to know that yes, this is scary, but we can get through it, more importantly, and just understand what we know and what we don't know, and then deal with the knowns on a daily basis, and just focus on that, and not focus on the negativity that can come from this kind of stuff. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of a Reader's Digest version of what I've been doing, I think.
Well, it's interesting. Talking to Stephen Postema, obviously his job is one that can easily transfer to home, and yours is not, like not at all. So maybe could you tell me a little bit about what kind of adjustments that our force has had to make?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, wow. So the transition from what we traditionally do to today, it was very quick, but it was a transition. Police work, we have a ton of rules and procedures and regulations that help us deal with the day-to-day activities of dealing with the public. This pandemic, it's almost the exact opposite, where we're not, well, we don't want to deal with the public, in a sense that we need to keep our social distance. We need to make sure that we don't make anyone ill, as well as vice versa, because we have to make sure that the police department still runs. So, we've had to change some of our policies and procedures regarding how we interact with people in a little different way than we did in the past. As an example would be, if we went to someone's home, we might ask them could they talk to us outside versus us going inside normally, which we would routinely do pretty quickly, just to try to, keep the environment, you know, more open and free of potential disease or what have you. So we've had to change a ton of things. We're less likely to proactively engage the public, whether it's, uh, you know, speeding tickets, or not saying that we won't pull you over for speeding. That's not the case. I'm just saying that we're less likely to do things on minor nature things and calls of that nature. Um, we've had to make sure that we had the appropriate amount of PPE for all our employees, and that's protective equipment, just to make sure that they're not exposed unnecessarily to this pandemic. Uh, that is something we didn't have to do before, unless we went into an environment where we knew that there were absolute, dangers out there. But now we go into every situation not knowing, what we are going to be exposed to, and that's a little different. Oh, goodness gracious. The officers have to clean their vehicles before they get in the vehicles, after they get out of the vehicles, in between, during the day, if they have anyone getting in and out of the cars. Uh, they do a very good job of doing that. Starting probably tomorrow, all the officers will be required to wear a mask, similar to the cloth mask that everyone else has, as well as there are other N95 masks and other masks that we have just to do the job, just to make sure that we're not exposing each other to any potential disease. Oh, goodness. There's a whole host of other changes that we've had to do regarding our protocols. And I can't even recall them all, but I do know that that's part of the routine of what we do daily, is we look at what we typically do and see how it fits into tomorrow's world. Since the world is changing so rapidly regarding this pandemic, we always have to look at our protocols and procedures to see if we can do something to make our jobs safer and to make our interactions with the public safer. So
I appreciate that.
no,
So now I can shift to sort of the question that like every person who's just sort of sitting at home is able to describe to me. How is your household adjusting with the day-to-day tasks where somebody has to go to the grocery store and pick up food? Those day-to-day situations where we have to go out in public. And I know that your job means that you're constantly going out in public anyway, but what kind of routines do you have in your household for the things that you bring home?
wow. So the routines are fairly limited, in the sense that I am, I guess, both blessed and cursed, in the sense that I have one of the positions that I do have to go into work every day. And my wife, it's just me and my wife, and we have 2 small dogs. She goes into work every day as well. She's a physician, actually an anesthesiologist. So, she works pretty long hours. So pretty much on the weekends are the only times that we may or may not go out. And to be honest, she actually goes out and shops and brings in the food, because she still likes to do that. And then of course, I help her. I go occasionally with her for the most part, but there's still quite a few things to do on the weekends here, what we find. And so, but we do walk the dogs together, or I'll walk the dogs. I think that's my main responsibility, and going for long walks with the dogs, which is kind of fun. And after being cooped up, in the house, even on the weekend, or cooped up at work for that matter, it's nice to be able to get outside and enjoy some fresh air, and a walk with the animals, who have no clue what's going on, nor do they care. But that's a very good thing. And just between the shopping, I mean, pretty much that's it, and figuring out what delivery we're going to receive, if that's the case, if we order out or make it ourselves. Pretty much we're contained to walking the dogs, going grocery shopping like everyone else, and takeout. We have the routine of maybe watching a movie every once in a while, a pay-per-view movie or something like that, on the screen, and that's about it. It's a pretty boring lifestyle, but I must admit that we are both pretty busy in general, and we, even during downtime, there's a lot of research I should be doing and am doing to look things up, and she does it as well, just to make sure she keeps up with the latest and greatest in the medical profession and protocols and things of that nature. So staying busy, being purposeful, has a way of eating up time, and it takes your mind away from some of these things too. So there might be a method to the madness. I don't know, but I stay pretty busy. So I don't really think about much other than the next thing I have to do.
I think a few people have told me this, that keeping busy seems to be a good strategy. So
Yes.
what kind of precautions do you take when you do go outside? when
Oh,
you're like outdoors walking
yeah,
your dog?
absolutely. So I do have gloves that I have, and I don't always use them, but I always have a napkin or a towel. I don't touch metal door handles, and even if I do, I immediately come back and wash my hands as soon as possible. We keep Perel in the car, to hand sanitizers. Every time I go from one place to another, I just do it and routinely clean off the surfaces that I touch. And and obviously we wear a mask. I have a surgical type mask. It's not an actual surgical mask, but a surgical type mask that looks similar to that I wear when I go out with the dogs, and as well as when I go to work. Outside of those things, washing my hands routinely. I mean, I think I probably watched them way too much. I, that's the main thing. Washing my hands, trying to keep my hands away from my mouth and face and things of that nature. I do that pretty routinely. I clean off my phone screens and my computer screens and keyboards off 2 or 3 times a day, at least. And the door handles with, the house. When we come back in and we go out, I always clean all the door handles, all the mechanisms that we might touch. That's metal, refrigerator handles, stoves, just in case we bumped into or touched something while we were outside that was on a surface that might, prevent it from coming inside. So these are the kind of things we do, as well as having an in-house air filtration that supposedly picks up a lot of the germs and things of that nature. I have no clue if it does or not, but mentally I turn it on, so it makes me feel better.
I've heard a lot of descriptions of some of what you've described, like wiping things down and keeping things clean. And I have asked everybody, what would you say to people who are just really frustrated by the guidelines that we're trying to maintain and just would prefer to just live normally, just sort of throw it out the window? Like we just had protests in Lansing of people who are like, we're sick of this. Like, what would you say to people like that?
Wow, and what they're feeling, I'll acknowledge that I probably feel it too. Everyone feels it. It's what are you going to do with it? It's that negative energy that I talked about, and about what you can do. The reality is, this is where we are right now, and I think it's important for people to acknowledge what we can do, and then just let go of what you can't. And you can't undo the fact that this pandemic is here. So what you can do is focus on what it takes to stay safe. What does it take for us all to get through this together as fast as possible, without going backwards? And if people don't continue to voluntarily comply with all the things that we've been asked to do, there's an opportunity for this pandemic to come back on us in a different way, or continue it far longer than we need to. And so we want people to be patient and understand that there's a reason why we're doing what we're doing. And yes, this is frustrating, but it's going to be more frustrating if you don't listen and then have it come back even more, or extend this a lot longer than it needs to be, because of the fact that we didn't have the patience to do all the things that we needed to do now to stay safe. So, this is you've heard it a ton before about, we live in a community. We do, right? We need each other. We need each other to listen to these rules, and, so we can all stay safe. The fact is, one person who gets sick exposes us all. And so we should learn how to take care of each other individually first. And then by doing that, we'll be able to take care of the entire community. So I would tell people, please just stay safe, be patient, and hopefully we'll all get through this very soon. Rome wasn't built in a day. And so, yes, it is difficult this time period, but we'll get through it as long as they're patient and abide by our, the guidelines that the CDC and other health professionals are putting out there for us.
Well, that is the end of the questions that I typically ask people.
Oh,
So the only thing that I would say is, do you have anything to add?
no, I mean, the only thing I have to add is, I would say for the most part, the residents here in Ann Arbor have been overwhelmingly compliant with everything that we've asked them to do from that standpoint. We worry as the warmer weather comes, that, we do have a younger population of people here as well, that we ask them to continue to comply to what we've asked them to do, particularly with CDC rules and social distancing, because that's very important for all our health. I know the first 80 or 85 degree day, that would be a really big deal for a lot of people, and they'll want to go out and think it's over. But, listen to the health professionals. Remember, we need them all to comply. The last thing you need is for the police to come and end up writing you a citation or having to arrest you just because of the fact that you just couldn't be patient, even on a nice day. So that being said, I'm sure everyone will absolutely continue to do what they've been doing, and I that's the expectation, and I don't think anything different will happen. But I just want to remind folks, that there's a reason why we're doing this stuff. So, but thank you very much for having me on. There is a loneliness portion to this, and other than seeing my wife, which I don't mind, and work, we don't see very many friendly faces. So it's very good to see you, and be good to see you and the other city councils person, from time to time again. So.
Well, you've just prompted me to think of another question, which is like, how are you adding in extra interactions? A lot of people have talked about like Zooming with family and stuff. Your kids live far away, or do they live in town? I'm not sure I know that.
Yeah, no, they do. Actually, I have a son that lived in New York. He's actually now in my house in Boston now with my daughter. My other son lives with his girlfriend in the Boston area, and we talk to them by phone. They really won't Skype me too much. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on in the background, but they will talk by phone and they text all the time. So it's good to know that they're kind of together and safe in that way. So, I feel far more comfortable there. My youngest is 21, so they are adult children, so to speak, but they're still, no matter how old they get, they're still your children. So, just hearing from them from time to time just makes us feel pretty good that they're okay. That's what we care about in that way. But yes, as far as work is concerned, we do Teams meetings all the time, and that's been a very, very good way to communicate with people, and we do quite often. As a matter of fact, the other day I almost felt as though, I was meeting even more than I'd met before this pandemic, just because of so many team meetings. I'm just going from one to another to another. I was like, gosh, it's like no breaks, and so. The IT department's done a great job of helping us, stay up and running with each other as far as reaching out and having meetings and still complying with the social distancing. We have meetings with personnel, with the other chiefs in the county, with other agencies, of course, obviously with city government, the city administrator. We meet all day long and we talk about a whole host of things, and it's been pretty tremendous, the technology involved with this. I didn't think we would be able to segue so quickly and so easily to an IT mode, but we have. From a community policing point of view, we're trying to reach out to all our community groups to see if we can start to do this. And I think this week coming up, we're going to have our first kind of team meeting via community policing, just to see how the residents are doing and seeing what their concerns are and how we can help them. So I'm kind of excited to see if we can continue to do all the things that we want to do through the IT format, whatever means we do, whether it's Zoom or through Teams meetings, to make sure that we connect with the citizens and make sure that we are answering their questions and making sure that their fears are alleviated in some way or form, by us answering their questions and finding out what concerns that they have. So I'm excited about next week, and I'm sure it will go well.
Well, it's definitely been my impression that those of you who are full-time employees of the city have absolutely stepped up. And I mean, we're all leaning really hard on our IT department now, but everybody, sort of everybody is having to come together in a different way and work in a different way. And I feel really lucky to live in Ann Arbor. I feel like things are coming together really nicely.
I prior to coming here, and I've been here about almost 7 to 8 months, I was in the city of Boston. It's a pretty major city, and I still have contacts with the people there, particularly during this pandemic. And I would say that, Ann Arbor is certainly, if not running as well, maybe better in so many different ways as far as communication is concerned with all the department heads and things of that nature. So, Ann Arbor is an elite city doing quite well during this, and I'm happy to be here. So, and everyone should be proud of what they've done, because they have not missed a step as far as making sure that the public and the citizens here are safe. So.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me on what looks to be maybe a good day for a bike ride. I'm hopeful about that.
I see the sun out there. Yes, the dogs are looking at me now, so I think it's time. So thank you
Well,
very much for having me, and you stay safe,
I appreciate that.
and let us know how we can be of service.
I will. All
All right.
right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.